Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting Propagandacast. I'm your host, Imperial Dane. We're off here to a spectacular 1 versus 1 on the road to Kharkov. We shall be watching Luvnest here fighting for the Wehrmacht, for the Reich, taking on the guys here of the 3rd SS Panzerdivision Totenkopf. The Spearhead, Mechanized Assault and Mobile Defense, charging ahead towards a Soviet armor build-up here under the command of Heinous of the 3rd Soviet Tank Corps, building up the tanks and preparing for an assault towards Kharkov, or possibly somewhere beyond that. We've got Spearhead, Megasav, all that set, but for him we've got Mechanized Support, got Mortar and Shock Rifle bulletins, light infantry with a single MG42 bulletin right there for Luvnest. It's current name enough, he's not thrusting straight for the fuel there, what you'd usually expect someone to do, but still, not too bad. Instead, we also got a bit similar here from Luvnest. Not necessarily rushing straight for the fuel either, but still, of course, going for it. We got 2 grenadiers for him, we got plenty of conscripts on the way for Heinous. Points being secured. All slow and quiet. And of course, one thing to remember about Soviet forces by the later stage of the war was usually, in terms of what was equal to a division in the German army, was a corps, because, well, due to in particular the heavier losses suffered initially during Barbarossa, everything was basically sort of downsized. So, for example, the Soviet tank company was very small, and usually then the equivalent, ultimately, of a division, for example, was the Soviet tank corps. Mechanized corps was probably closer to, in terms of overall capability, for example, to a Panzer division. Little fun facts there. Rifle units held out for a bit longer, but even then, by the later stage of war, even they were themselves so depleted that usually a rifle corps, though probably still bigger than the German infantry division there, was sort of, the equivalent in that regard as well. So, little fun facts are little fun facts, and certainly by the later stage of war, the Soviet army itself was usually rather understaffed in a lot of departments. So, of course, not something you hear so much talking about, though, but it was very much the case. That conscripts there firing, grenadiers firing back. So far, nothing for the grenadiers. We've got a 4th conscript there on the way for Heinous. Units taking up position in the buildings, vaulting over fences, walls, and whatnot. And right here, things are not going so well for Luvnest, so he's forced to fall back here under most of the gunfire there from the conscripts. Troops moving over there to secure the point there. Conscripts driving, and we got Molotovs on the way as well. Probably not a bad idea, considering the area he'll be fighting in. Molotovs in that regard will be quite potent. We'll be able to deny Luvnest a lot of valuable cover. We got a 4th grenadier squad down the way, so no MG42s, at least mortars not right away, but a pretty infantry. We start there from Luvnest, charging forwards into Russian lines. Grenadier squad they're creeping up. And there you go. Kar-98K's barking as shots are fired and Russians are killed. Pressuring up there. We got a bit of flanking here though. Pioneers could make up to cover, get close, so they will have a bit of advantage. A mild one there as the conscripts, not a huge one. Usually one that can be negated easily, for example with a Molotov. So there we go. Pioneer forced off the field. Right flank very open there to further assault there from Heinous and the Soviet army. Communists sneaking forwards. Nothing further here though from Luvnest. And by the way, noting here already we've got a doctrinal choice from Heinous Guards. Mortar has been chosen. Guards Mortar. Also, thing to note about Soviet Tank Corps was they were very much what the tin says, heavy on tanks, very actually short on everything else to support them. Infantry, artillery, things like that. A tank corps actually had sort of not too much of it, really tanks they were heavy on. And compared to a mechanized corps, while technically, stronger because it had better, well, combined arms sort of options, they were actually shorter than tanks, so little fun fact there. We got a mech bunker up there. Obviously, he could build something else, but that would only be my mistake. I don't know, Luvnest suffering from some kind of debilitating disease. We got an MG42 arriving up now, so now he's got a bit of heavy firepower there for the grenadiers. Heinous so far not doing anything else. Could be he's waiting here for his structural units, maybe a heavy mortar or some guards, a rifle infantry. Grenadiers finally got conscripts moving ahead. Troops holding up there. He could secure the centre if he wanted. We got here pressing up the right flank. Good job there, by the way, from Heinous. That will certainly further force Luvnest to spread out, to sort of defend all of his territory, particularly the fuel, which he can't really afford to sort of lose for longer periods of time. No taking up, no further sign of anything. Conscripts are pushed away there. We got Grenadiers counter-attacking towards the right there to deal with the intrusion on the right flank. Pioneers sneak up there. No flaming rifle might have been expected to sort of try and help deal with the units type buildings there. His response compared to Heinous, of course, Molotov's response. But no sign of that so far. And there we go, conscripts run off. No further losses to the German army there. Though Boris, it seems like, did not make it out of there. Neither did Vasily. There we go, we actually got flamethrowers up for Heinous. I expected Luvnest to get them first, but apparently Heinous is a bit of a pyromaniac. Take up there for Luvnest. I imagine I'd like to make a nice company rapidly. Panzer Grenadier could then be a choice. Scout cut or half track as well. I mean, he could of course go for a pack, but that would likely be them sort of having in sort of serious concerns about an armor rush from Heinous, and so far there doesn't really seem to be much indicating it initially. And particularly since there's been no overt pressure towards the fuel point there, which, you know, might usually be the case. Also, we got a support pioneer going up. They're rather far away, though, considering everything. But there you go, he is taking up, so there might be Maxims, mortars, and field guns. We've got mines going up here to cover the cut-off point. He's actually being forced to fall a bit back here. Luvnest tightening his net there, becoming a bit harder to deal with. And there we go, 251 half-track down the way. Mittlerer Schützenpanzerwagen. Guards rifle and infantry an option. He's not taking though. No, he's actually rushing straight on for the tank battalion command. Not holding back there. He knows no limits in that regard. Straight tag on. Grenadiers are being forced back, taking nice loss, and Grenadier squads are being equipped with light machine guns, increasing Luvnest's firepower notably. Certainly giving a bit more punch there versus the Russian hordes. Bit of flamethrower assault going up there. The Germans are quick flank, got the infantry coming, got the half-track moving in, and in that regard though, he will have a slight advantage. He's able to provide a bit of safe support there for the time being, since Heinous is very much lacking anti-tank grenades, so of course Luvnest is not aware of this, or doesn't know, and thus of course he's not going to risk it, because Luvnest is not a fool. Molotov there went off, of course, forcing back the 84-2. Nice flank barrel went up here, catching all the support weapons off guard. Nicely executed there by Heinous. But still he's holding on here. Half-track actually getting a bit of a kill there. Troops forced away ultimately. Too much firepower there in the name of Deutschland. So there we go, we got the Russians run off. Also, a little fun fact about the 251 in terms of organisation. Usually, oh, mine went off there, damn it, in the end. Thankfully, the Pioneers were nearby, and the Pioneers actually didn't suffer too heavily. Mostly a bit of dirt and motor oil. Nine, I'm blind. Well, lift up your goggles, you fool. Either way, though, usually, though, in terms of organisation, usually each Panzer division, and they really only wants to have it. There might have been some Panzer divisions here and there for different reasons, but usually Panzer divisions would have one battalion equipped with them. The rest were usually truck mounted, though of course there could be sort of limitations, so they're bikes, or they might even just be on foot as the war progressed, that is. But usually one battalion of half tracks. Usually there could be, you know, more elite divisions that had more. For example, one elite Panzer Gunner division actually hits each of their regiments equipped with one battalion of them as well, which was very rare. The Panzerlehr division in Normandy, for example, was actually fully equipped with half tracks. On the other hand, each battalion had it, which was extremely rare, and tragically, I suppose in some sense you might say, they were actually mostly lost in one quick air raid by the Americans, rather quickly eliminating all of that equipment. So, but little fun fact there, little fun fact. Just moving ahead, more moving in, rifle grenades going off, not quite connecting though. More light machine gun fire there. So far, Heinous is not really adding more to his force though. Oh, we got a T-7 there, clear of rush there from Heinous. Luvnest very much exposed to that, but at the same time he's actually managed to secure the cut point here with a nice sort of assault around the half-track, using the half-track to basically form a nucleus which he can constantly be forced from, basically making it very difficult to push off, and also very difficult for his opponent to stall and assault. I mean, in that regard, you know, using the half-track that way is quite solid. In that regard, you don't constantly have to retreat to reinforce. Also, good job there. Minesweepers also ensuring, you know, he doesn't hit any more mines. Panzer going to be on the way, but at the same time, no. What does Heinous do? Okay, we have a German spearhead going down here. I'll strike elsewhere to force the spearhead to divert. So, nicely executed there, and now things are about to get a bit more ugly for the Germans. We've got a T-70 light tank mobile and ready. Consuls there forced away. T-70 moving ahead for the glory of the motherland. Heinous harassment seems to be doing the trick, basically spreading out Luvnest, making also more room for the T-70 then to strike at isolated units. If that was the intention. I kind of hope that was, really. And not so much of a mistake. Oh, look at that, Dimitri! I am great Soviet general! No, Boris, you're just lucky. Anyways. MG42, they're being pushed away. We got some gunners acting a bit of trouble right here. Luvnest should consider pulling back already. I mean, he's got one unit here very much in his own. Exposed retreat path and a T-70 striking in at the retreat path. And there you go, he's in retreat, but already at one man down. And again, there's nothing covering the retreat path. And the T-70 can basically sort of just drive up as close as possible there, though slightly diverted by having to hit a cart there. Apparently, Piotr, the driver, is a bit of a vandal. Meanwhile, though, I mean, good progress over here, but still, Grenadier squad there looks to be going to be wiped out. That's going to be a harsh loss already to Luvnest. Panzer Grenadier getting up Panzerschreck. That's one way of dealing with the T-70. Quickly getting to the building, though, until it's ready. And we got veterans running for the half-track. 3 kills already for the glory of the Reich, das Vaterland. But there you go, that's forcing Heinous to pull all the way over here, but again, he's probably not too worried about it because he knows, you know, there's probably not going to be anything sort of heavy anti-tank there. Got a Pack 40 there arriving though, so a bit more anti-armor warfare from Luvnest to lob against Heinous. Grenadiers there under fire. One loss there. Looking rather ugly there. Another man down. That looks like he won't be able to get a full squad up there now. I think Heinous is getting a bit more cautious again. He knows, you know, he can only stay around for so long before the anti-tank defense moves up. So in that regard, what he's doing is basically strike a bit, then shift away. Basically staying nimble and light on foot. Going for quick hits here and there. Also doing sure basically that Luvnest is off balance and never sure where the next strike is going to land. So in that regard, you know, Luvnest is going to have few options. One, of course, be launching an assault, forcing Heinous to react in with his light tank. In that regard, you know, forcing into an engagement they can't win. But we actually got here another response, another positive one. He's gone for mobile defense, and he's calling in the Puma Schwerer Puncher Spielwagen. Los! There you go, T-70 getting off a few more hits there. Oh! Close to actually getting another unit there. Half-track moving up to reinforce. Help. Country's moving in. Good use of the T-70. We've also got fuel cache there, by the way. That's not bad at all. But in this case, though, the Germans rather ruined that. And there we go. Another unit lost there for Luvnest. The casualties are piling up. But at the same time, though, nice flank here for the Puma, clearly. Heinous was not expecting that in the slightest. Puma there taking some hits. Ultimately, though, I would say the T-70 definitely did its part there. Wiping 2 Grenadier groups is going to hurt. In particular, since some of them were upgraded. Not, well, one of them was actually. So either way, that definitely paid itself off and did quite a bit of damage to the Luvnest in the process. Of course, now it's going to have to deal with a heavy armoured car with a 50mm cannon. But I think here that Heinous bought himself quite some precious breathing space here. And staggered down Luvnest for the time being. Need to be careful there with the Puma, though. But I want to note how he continues here with the, the units supported by the half-track, keeping up pressure. The half-track also doing a bit of damage, getting some kills there, closing in on Vet 52. And note how there's a Pioneer already always nearby. Of course, you could just have the Pioneers decided to sort of, minimize the amount of micromanagement needed otherwise, until the, there's a need up close. Anyway, still, he's pushing on here towards the cut-off point. In that regard, he's still, doing something sensible. Something sensible, that sounds a bit, insulting. But he's definitely not been disheartened by anything, you know. He's constantly pressing up, trying to find another route to strike at him, rather going through again the thickest part of the defense of Heinous. It gives more time to react. He's going through here, but there's less time for Heinous to react to build up a defense. Proper, I think. Guardsman here, though, trying to save the day and stop, well, rather getting cut down. But again, Heinous responds. He flanks again, you know. He went through here. He left the flank exposed. Heinous reacts sensibly. And a tank grenade here. Almost got the Puma, though. Almost. Bloody close there. No nearby conscripts to help there. Anti-tank grenade's not ready. Looks like a conscript was lost. In fact, we have seen here that Heinous is himself suffering some nasty infantry losses in the battle. Puma there trying to get away. Desperately pulling back. We got comments here forcing with the Pioneer. The Pack 40 has been cleared out. That's even going to hurt Luvnest if Heinous were to secure that. Then again, it's going to be tricky for him to get it out of there. Still a pretty brutal citizen engagement in the end, though. Heinous was pushed off here. There's very little to actually hold him back. And that could actually give Luvnest a chance of building up a bit more of a blocking position here, denying a lot of places fuel. But in the same turn, Heinous basically going as well, to hell with that. Let's return the favour to him. And he's forcing him again to sort of try to divert forces from here. Of course, one way to sort of quickly react is just basically stuffing some troops in the half-track, rushing it up there, since the half-track on its own is faster than the infantry, and that might, you know, be something for Luvnest to consider. Of course, the question is, what will Heinous do after this? I mean, he can't really afford to keep this up, and at the same time, this is also a bit risky. Also, nice telemine there, by the way, from Luvnest. Puma being repaired, no further taking up there. Got mines there, though. And kaboom. Half the unit gone. Engineers leading their way straight into an MD-42. Guardsmen will be back in the fight. Got everything here except the victory point. Now he just needs to connect, in which case, of course, he still gets through that way. Got a T-34-760 on the way for Heinous. As Luvnest men continue to fire down hundreds of bullets from all those MD-42s. Bit of light engagement here. Fresh grenadiers from Luvnest. Doing the best to push back here. Of course, he could have just considered adding in some Ostrom at this point to just sort of add in some volume to sort of help hold some of the flanks there at least, with some less expensive infantry. And we got a command tank on the way here. So far it looks like he's not going to bother taking up. Instead he must be feeling, you know, that he's got a pretty good, thus opting up here for a Panther command tank to further hurt the infantry, also make him harder to push off, which also works. As long as Heinous then doesn't build up too strong a armoured response. And there we go, Veterans 1 for the Puma, opening up for target weak point. T-34-76 there, arriving for Comrade Stalin's glorious armies. Luvnest sort of holding the centre, flanks less strong. That's rather whether the Heinous is ruling for the time being.
The enemy has driven a wedge in our lines.
Got the Panzer Grenadier holding up. Force of the T-34-76 have to be careful. MD-42 stopping the comps there still. Nice position there. You would need some smoke from a mortar to deal with that. Or some serious bombardment. We got the Puma Pack 40 here. Command Tank Grenadiers. Also got the half-tank now virtually too, by the way, which allows it to be more, safely away. Also makes it more mobile. Grenadiers advancing. Command Tank, we got the Pack 40 supporting in. He's going for the CoH2. Luvnest assault so far working out reasonably well, actually. Puma moving in. Needs to be careful though. One good hit from the field, then that thing's going to be wrecked. Half-track moving in as well. On top of everything, the Grenadiers about to get wiped out. Scheiße, zurückfallen. Rückzug. And there you go, Grenadiers assault going in there, catching the MD-42, and the half-track in a bit of a bad position there. Anti-tank mate, they're flying through. Pioneers moving in. MD-42 needs to fall back. We got the command tank though, showing it's a bit hard to kill, but ultimately gets wrecked utterly. Oh wait, no. There's still one survivor who can grab it. Oh, never mind, he died. Come on, tank doing what he can. Half tank continuing to roll back here. Puma joining in. While we got Heinous here rolling in and grabbing the MD-42 by force. T-34-76 a bit cautious here around the Germans. Heavy mortar fire. Proving ever handy. And we actually got a mortar on the way from Luvnest. Likely in response to the heavy mortar, probably try and deal with it. It's certainly going to be tricky to deal with a heavy mortar with only a medium mortar. That's not to say the Germans didn't have a heavy mortar of their own by this point in the war. In fact, it was, well, basically the Soviet heavy mortar they copied. Outright, in fact. There were no modifications whatsoever, I believe. Well, there might have been some minor, but overall it was pretty much the exact same which they used. In fact, most of the minor axes as well used, I think the Hungarians, the Romanians, the Finns basically also copied it and used it, made it their own. So, a little fun fact there. Got the Puma there being repaired. Grenadiers moving ahead. Beginning to bleed out a bit of infantry. Also lost the Panzer Grenadier here, seems to the building. Crushed beneath the timber. Attack forward, getting off good hit in the T-34-76, down to half of them, needs to fall back. We got Heinous here, though, a bit contained by Luvnest at the moment, and I do believe it's active time here for the mid-game analysis. Current situation is, as pointed out, Luvnest is containing Heinous at the moment. He's basically sort of got his thumb on the cut-off point. Is basically sort of making sure that Heinous can't leave it. He's trying to tie down as many forces as possible. In that regard, you know, he's leaving this a bit open. He's also got one option in that regard because Heinous' eyes are basically on this spot. Maybe a bit here as well. In fact, that regard, there's a possibility of a good flank here. Maybe with the command taking the Puma, which actually could catch off guard a lot of the equipment here and cause a lot of harm to Heinous if properly executed. Of course, he might just try on the sort of slower approach here and just trying to bash his way through. At the same time, though, it's going to be a bit of a war of attrition, a bit of a grind. And in that regard, even with a half track, it's going to be a bit risky due to his lower squad size. In that regard, you know, it could easily end up to the advantage of Heinous. In particular, there's not that far of a distance between this point and Heinous' base as well. So that's something that Luvnest actually has to be careful with if he's going to play, well, basically a game of attrition right here. Because that's not really what the Germans are suited for. I mean, the half track will help a bit, at least save up on the time, but even manpower-wise and likes. Plus, again, there's just a higher chance of losing a unit entirely. There are definite problems here for Luvnest in basically keeping up. I mean, he's really going to, I think, be better off trying to play with some maneuver and trying to outmaneuver Heinous. Again, a good flank here, I think, could do some serious damage. He might also want to consider taking up either for this, or even if he feels really boldly towards battle phase 3, a Panther or Sturmpanzer would be good. Even just some command or regular Panzer force, maybe an Ostwind or some Stugs, could do a lot, I think, to add pressure to Heinous and force him back. For Heinous, it seems like he might be now setting up for the T-3045, so I can certainly understand him. He needs something with a bit more punch. A fuel cache rebuilt, though, would be a good idea. He should also try and think to pressure up here, try to deny fuel. Otherwise, try again to draw something away from him, easing up the pressure around his cut-off point. I mean, the more he can do for that, the better. And that's really going to be his main issue, and that's also something that Luvnest should consider guarding himself against. Flankers here. Bunkers or mines, sort of think would be a good choice. Again, calling in some Ostwind reserve to just basically sort of hold up positions here and here, I think could do a lot to at least buy time then to sort of a more direct response force. But overall, that's rather how I see things going and what I think the two players could consider. But again, you know, fuel caches might be good if he's going to play for T-3045, so otherwise it might take a bit too long, and that would also give Luvnest more time to go for, say, something big or bigger. But let's return into the fight. Panther for command tank there taking hits. MD-42 rushed off. Got the German mortar ready. We got the conscripts here getting rapidly gunned down here by the more elite grenadier. Comes to the close, getting wiped out. Shit! There. Assault going in here. I'm not entirely sure what Heinous was thinking there, but obviously I don't think it was feeding the command tank. Either way, that did not really work out. There was some pretty terrible casualties right there for Heinous. Not quite working out for him. Got further mortar fire.
300 points stand between us.
Pack 40 shifting away to another position. Not too bad there. Oh dear, oh dear. Pop smoke there. Needs to get away then. Now these are close to getting wiped out. We've got further heavy mortar fire, grenades going off, lots of explosions, but so far it's rather sort of settled in for a, well, at least period here of no maneuver, it seems. And in that regard, the heavy mortar will give Heinous a bit to work with, in particular considering the area that Luvnest is fighting from, which is, as you might be noticing, not frightfully open, which also means there's a high chance of troops being bunched together and thus making good artillery targets. There's definitely quite a few threats there for Luvnest. Who's, by the way, not really interested in taking up so far, it seems. He should definitely, I think, consider it as soon as possible before it becomes too late. And by too late, I mean T-3045's hit, and he's got nothing to really stop them with. Light machine gun drop, but oh, a missed chance there by Heinous. A missed chance. Tragic as ever. Pack 40, they're hitting with the T-34-36. Got the command tank moving ahead. Securing the victory point. Got the Panzer IV blasting away. Puma there taking a few hits there as well. Again, it's basically hit and run. And in this regard, and again, Luvnest really should consider and think about trying to shift over to something more mobile, again, something more towards flanking. Again, if he can do so, he can do a lot of harm because, again, there's nothing covering this spot. Of course, he might risk getting spotted by something, but even then, if he keeps up the speed, he could outmaneuver and do quite a bit of damage. For some sort, he got blitz here on the command tank. The Puma's got targeted weak points, so overall, he should be able to do something. And of course, as soon as he attacks from here, and the attention is diverted towards it, then he attacks from the front, using the half tank to push the assault there. Was involved anyways. But there you go, bit of a breach there. T-34-36 Panzer faster. There's still a bit of risk of losing some men if he's not careful. It looks like Heinous is realising what the name of the game is and actually shifting out. We also got him clearing out some mines, at least oh, there we go. Mortar crew murdered by the Soviet heavy mortar. Not looking good there for Luvnest. Again, it's a bit of a war of attrition, and that's not necessarily that it's going too well here for Luvnest. Rather a bit the opposite. I mean, he's actually slowly pushing back Heinous, but at the same time, the casualties suffered while doing so are not necessarily to his advantage. Still, he's managed to once more deny fuel to Heinous, so that's something to work with there. He's still not taking up, though. He's still not taking up, and really he should do as quickly as possible, because that's just otherwise basically time wasted when he does finally get around to it, I think. Which might end up being, you know, when things are beginning to go bad for him. Oh, there we go. He's actually taking up now. He's actually taking up now. We got the second battle phase there on the way. One thing to consider for Luvnest at the moment would also be additional pioneers to help speed up the repairs of his command tank, for example, his half tank, and his Puma. Just a little something to consider. Mine engagement over here, the gunners are having the advantage. Got Ravnet going off, and well, that was terrible, Fritz. Still managed to send the conscripts running. You got mines here. Clearly, Luvnest is a bit worried about an enemy armoured assault, a breakthrough, and he's trying to sort of prepare for that, which is not bad. Oh, the mortar got cleared out again. Not really working out for Luvnest. There we go. Second battle phase ready. Will he take on, or will he build the support armor core? That's going to be an interesting question. Strong point there. Bit of shooting from the T-34-76. Quick rifle grenade with the air. Nice mortar strike there from the heavy mortar. And there you go. Almost a flank there. Almost, but for some reason... And again, I'm not entirely sure here, of course, that's happening in Luvnest mine, but he basically pulls back. He might be worried about something, though. But the question is, we don't know what it is he's worried about. Also looks like he actually managed to steal away the Pack 40 here. Bit of a quick grab there. Denied Luvnest's anti-tank, and also added further there to Heinous' anti-tank front. Which is definitely a problem there for Luvnest. He is taking up. He's going for the third battle phase. He's going for tier 4. He's going for Panthers and Sturmpanzers and Panzerwerfers. Got mortar fire going off there on the MB42. Gun is in a bit of trouble. Quick shot there from the T-3476. And the Puma's actually getting close there to veterancy too, which is definitely not bad. Closing in a bit too as well with a high rate of fire. We got the Pioneers in a bit of trouble. He's still not gone any further though, so in that regard I do feel Luvnest might be a bit understaffed. Which is definitely something to be wary of, but still, he's got Heinous slice contain. In fact, Heinous is getting very low on victory points. That's actually a huge problem for Heinous. It could be what could allow Luvnest here to pull through with a victory. With veterancy too. High rate of fire, increased accuracy, which is always bad news for the ones on the receiving end. Though he might want to advance that a bit further so he could support the assault. And there we go. Veterans too. Conscripts there taking further losses. The infantry bleeding out. But there you go. It looks like it will be set up now. Yes, there we go. Heavy Panzer Corps up for Luvnest. Heavy Panzer Corps. And we're getting a Flammpanzerwagen up here for Luvnest. Flammpanzerwagen. Yes, now, if he's not really done anything to sort of mine the right flank at all, really should consider that. Either way, Flammpanzerwagen. Oh, also noting here, he's got some heavy infantry loss. He's barely got any troops left. In this regard, again, I really would now strongly recommend Ostrom was so that he needs to sort of initially fill out the holes and he can get out some tougher troops. Because right now he's definitely low, which will definitely impair both defense and offense. There's definitely some problems there for Luvnest on the horizon. But the heavy Panzer Corps is up. Panther or Sturmpanzer options, though Panther would probably be the good opening one. He could always follow up with the Sturmpanzer forts, for example, help deal with infantry, but also anti-tank weapons. Got mortars down the grenades, got Rav grenade in exchange, almost getting the unit there. And there you go, veterans 2 for the Puma. Losses inflicted, command tank moving in, Puma supporting, half tech going up there. Flammpanzerwagen to the right, just needs to get a bit closer, Almost knocked out though. That's everything which needs repairs, and there we go. Heinous has managed to now build up for some T-35 to support. Rolling ahead here for the glory of Comrade Stalin, the Soviet peoples, and Borscht. And we've got tracking he actually activated on the field gun, that's nice. Heavy mortars also advanced up, they need to set up to support here, and for example trying to deal with the Granatenwerfer. And there we go, we got the Panther on the way, but at the same time we got a heavy Soviet assault going in there. Half track though, oh, nice, it kaput. Wasn't pulled back at all. Command tank in trouble, Panther still there on the way. Doing some time. T-35 taking heavy damage, he's quickly shifting on to deal with the Puma though. He actually needs to consider pulling back. This T-35 is about to get knocked out. Command tank trying to escape here. 85mm gun aims and kaput. Panzerkampfwagen lost. And there you go, on the other hand, the Puma gets vengeance, knocking out the T-35 there. Very close to veterancy 3. But at the same time, We've got both tanks here from Heinous, honing in on it. If only the Puma could actually hit, all of a sudden. There we go, one T-35 sets up, the other T-34-76 seems to be... there we go, he's got an idea what it is. He's basically pulling a pincer, so there's no way of Luvnest Puma here to escape. But there we go, Puma down. At the same time though, Panther has arrived, Panzerkampfwagen 5. Panzer. Field gun securing points. There we go, got the Panther moving in, trying to hunt down the Bolshevik tanks. Now this is close to getting wiped out. Still very low infantry numbers here for Luvnest. Again, I really think the Austrian reserves would be the initial good choice. And then I think follow up with a Sturmpanzer for heavy infantry losses, and of course knocking out the anti-tank weapons. Well, right now Luvnest he's getting another command tank. I'm not a huge fan of that as a move right now. He's got 2 Grenadier Squads, a Pioneer and a Mortar and a Panther versus Guards, conscript engineers, machine guns, mortars, field guns, packs and tanks. In that regard he is drastically outnumbered. And he's really going to basically come down getting the most out of his tanks, which at the same time is going to be rather heavily outgunned. And that Pack 40 is going to be quite a problem there, and a point of headaches for Luvnest. T-35s, they're taking damage. Panther 4 flanking in. And the Panther's already taking severe damage, and now of course again the problem with the lack of Pioneers is going to hurt here, because it's going to take quite some time then for him to get his Panther back in action. Now Heinous is definitely the one enjoying a more dominant position. The battle of attrition here did not work out for Luvnest, and ultimately Heinous staged a quite successful counterattack which he locked down. Oh, he's moving in the Panther again with so little health. Not sure what Luvnest was thinking about that. Maybe he was hoping to get a kick shot there and finish off something, but it clearly didn't work out. It clearly did not work out. Tanks are being repaired here for Heinous. He could easily add in some more. I mean, he could right now if he wanted to go for the T-34-76 to add in, and certainly with that many tanks. And there we go, in fact he's going for it. He's not aiming for another pair of T-34s, and probably an additional T-34-76 will lead his way to victory. Because he's all got 1 victory, 2 close to victory, 3 plus of course the T-35. Though at the same time, note here, Heinous is not being super confident. He's actually pulling back a bit. He's worried as to what tricks Luvnest might be able to pull out of his bag. He's actually now getting second Pioneer stick. Good. Would have liked to see them earlier. So Heinous not super confident. He's not getting cocky or reckless. He's probably feeling strong, but he's not feeling like, you know, there might be a nasty surprise there from Luvnest, which is certainly sensible thinking. But the Panther is being repaired, and Panthers were heavy on maintenance. Is one thing for sure, that was something that was never truly fixed with it.
Okay, that's the last one.
Then we got an additional T-34-76 moving up.
Engineer standing by.
There we go. Or not.
Yes, comrade.
Briefly looked like a soda armoured assault was about to go underway. The Panther though is ready. Of course, we also got the command tank in the same sector, although it is a very brief one, which could allow it to take less damage. Moving up the anti-tank, that would be a good move for Heinous to further support versus the Panther. Luvnest though must be feeling confident victory, probably because he's got all those victory points and Heinous has so few. I mean, he can pull out a proper assault and just hold the position for long enough, he might be able to win this. And there you go, shots fired, got Panther Veterans 1 there, T-34 taking a bit of damage. Command tank though wrecked, that was number 2. And that one certainly does less than the first one. Mortar crew wiped. And there we go, Veterans E3. A T-34 Ace, a hero of the Soviet Union. But the front line here's a bit of a mess for the Germans. Whereas for the Soviets, it's looking pretty damn decent. There you go, Panther flanking in. Or at least attempting to, but looks like here there's something that is compelling Luvnest to reconsider. Grenadiers flanking on the other hand from the other side. Getting a pack 40. Panther fast, there you go, T-35 there with the damaged engine. Flames are doing quite a bit of damage. Looks like the Panther might strike in. Right now his only hope might be getting a Puma there to support the Panther though here versus the Soviet tanks. Otherwise he's going to be severely outgunned. Down to half health, we've got the field gun moving up, closing in on Veterans 2. Bad news for the tanks is it does gain a higher rate of fire, which means cause a little more damage done. And there you go, quickly flanking in, good job there. The centre's open so the tank which is on the flank has its own flank exposed. No, oh, he does not pursue, he does not take the chance there. Looks like Heinous was feeling a bit cautious there and ended up pulling back. Otherwise, I do think he could have quickly gone behind it. He could have used maybe the less threatened one to ram it from behind. Maybe cause some engine damage, allowing the veteran T-34 to do some serious damage, maybe joined in by the T-35. Interesting enough, Luvnest is still retaining the tank over there, and again the centre is very much open, leaving again this one to be easily sort of cut off. But oh, never mind. Straight in front of the field gun, shot went through the frontal armour. And there we go, Mark vehicle on the way, got Grenadiers, got Pioneers wing support, got the pack 40, and looks like Heinous is striking in for the glory of the motherland. There you go, the assault going, you've got pack 40s firing. Panther doing what he can here. So far bouncing most of the shots. The front armor, there we go, Veterans in 2, but there you go, shots went through. Down to half health. Tank continues to pursue. Might lose the elite tank here though. The hero tank. And there you go. One hero less who gave his life for the Soviet. And there we go. Panther wrecked. Puma called in, but it is simply too late at this stage to really win the fight. And there you go. Luvnest surrenders. A loss to Germany, a victory here for the Soviet Union. Nicely played there by Heinous. Also nicely played by Luvnest, but I really think the decisive moment where he lost the game was basically where he tried to basically grind his way through here instead of trying to launch an assault up through the road and flank and that way destroy Heinous. Instead though, it was basically sort of a slow move here where he suffered higher losses, kept for example having to recruit that mortar, which was a lot of manpower spent on that. And I think that was again the greater mistake there by Luvnest. Oh, some nice moves, some nice play there, some nice flanks overall from both sides, but again, you know, ultimately Heinous played a bit more wisely. He was also, his army was also more suited to attritional style warfare. Good use of the heavy mortar, good use of his tanks, good use of marked vehicles overall. Nicely played. So hopefully you enjoyed this match. If you did, want to subscribe, tell your friends, share it with everyone. If not, you know, send in a replay and apart some feedback in the comment section. This is Imperial Dancing. Cheers and thank you all for watching, and see you all tomorrow. Bye.